Aquarius, when you feel that everything in your life is becoming vague, fragmented, or filled with contradictions, that is not confusion, it's a karmic calling, a powerful signal from the universe that you've entered the deepest reckoning phase of your soul's journey. The South Node, the karmic point, is shining directly onto the axis of your personal development. Relationships that once felt profound, roles you once immersed yourself in, even parts of your identity that you've carried for years are beginning to collapse. You haven't done anything wrong, but you also can't keep everything the same. This current cycle is like a revolving door, forcing you to choose, hold on to the bonds that no longer nourish you, or step through, even if it hurts, toward what your soul has always longed for across lifetimes. This isn't a decision made with logic, it's a calling from the deepest layer of your being. The energy of Pluto, the planet of destruction and rebirth, is moving very close to your sun or rising sign. This is the final shadow zone, where you're being asked to face what has long been hidden: emotional dependence, the suppression of your inner voice, old promises you've been trying to uphold, and roles you've played for others that no longer resonate with who you truly are. Karma doesn't punish, it simply clarifies what is finished. And right now, Aquarius, you are standing in the eye of a karmic storm. There's no going back. You may not know where it's leading, but the moment to move forward has arrived. That's why you may feel like you're living between two timelines. One pulls you back saying, hold on, this is your stability. The other urges you forward, whispering, leave, this is no longer you. It's not an illusion. It's a natural reaction when the axis of houses 1 and 7 is activated by slow-moving planets like Pluto, Neptune, and Saturn. In those moments, you're not just changing. You're being pushed into a threshold between who you were and who you are becoming. You are not lost. You are being reoriented. And this journey doesn't come from outside of you. It rises from within, from the part of your soul that already knows what must come to an end. In this state, everything can feel unclear. Relationships begin to crack without any obvious reason. Emotions recede like the tide. Goals that once motivated you suddenly feel meaningless. Milestones that used to give you direction now feel hollow. This is when your root chakra begins to shift, the space that holds your sense of safety, survival, and personal worth. At the same time, your crown chakra begins to light up, opening a new layer of awareness, rich in intuition yet cloaked in mystery. A part of you is quietly leaving behind the familiar to move towards something unnamed, yet deeply felt. Aquarius, you are standing at the crossroads between an old karmic cycle and a new destiny. The uncertainty you feel is not a stop sign. It's a signal that part of who you were has completed its role. And if you're brave enough to let go, then something extraordinary is already waiting for you on the other side. Because after this soul division, karmic connections, people who once held your soul back may reappear in your life, not to stay, but to help you learn how to release. And that will be the beginning of what comes next. In the middle of this intersection, where the old self is dissolving and the new one has yet to fully form, a very familiar energy begins to rise, the soul connection. You may have already felt the unmistakable presence of someone you can't quite explain, yet feel deeply bound to. They may be a past lover, a longtime companion, or even someone you've just met but feels like you've known across lifetimes. This is a classic sign when Saturn, Pluto, or the karmic nodes pass through the 5th-7th house axis or form aspects to your moon. A karmic relationship is reaching its point of resolution, not to bind forever, but to reveal the fracture, not to be saved, but to be released. This attachment carries the feeling of a soul once familiar. In their eyes, there's something that makes you feel safe, deeply seen, and profoundly loved. But from that same person, you may also feel loneliness, silence, a sense of abandonment or not belonging anymore. This is the paradox of karmic bonds, where love and separation walk hand in hand, inseparable. When karmic planets form squares to Venus or the moon in your birth chart, the cracks rise to the surface. You may be in a relationship where the connection has faded, or you might still carry the presence of someone who's no longer in your life. In either case, your soul is learning the lesson of letting go, not because you reject love, but because you can no longer tie yourself to a form that no longer nourishes you. This is the moment when Uranus, the ruling planet of Aquarius, speaks up. Are you willing to break the familiar mold and step into a reality no longer dependent on anyone but yourself? That question doesn't come from pain, but from a deeper layer of awareness about your worth. And because you've begun to awaken, the relationships that no longer align with your growth will naturally fall away. You may feel abandoned, but ask yourself, would you still stay if this no longer reflected who you are today? You may be hurting from a separation, but at a soul level, this might be a liberation. And the other person, whoever they are, is now facing their own path. When the 12th sixth house axis is activated, your soul isn't just learning how to love, it's learning how to walk away with gratitude. That even if this person once felt like destiny, your real destiny is your evolution. That sometimes love isn't about holding on, but having the strength to let each other go at the right time. Not everyone is meant to walk this cycle with you. Not everyone is ready to face the truth that we once needed each other, but we no longer align. And that's exactly when you're called to the next lesson, to stand on your own without clinging to anyone else. The next part will take us deep into your inner axis, where your values, emotions, and beliefs are being pushed to their limits. Because after stepping away from what used to define us, the universe now asks, then who are you? When there is no one left but you. When a karmic connection leaves, the empty space it leaves behind is not just about the sense of loss. It creates a profound stillness in which you are forced to face yourself. There's no one left to blame, no excuse to delay, no one to hold you in the comfort of your old safe zone. This is where the lesson of inner value begins, and for Aquarius, it doesn't come gently. The current energy shows tense aspects forming along the 2nd 8th house axis, which governs finances, safety, and the sense of emotional and material sufficiency. You may be worried about money, work, housing, or feel like no one is there to support you, that you have no place to call stable. But in truth, it is this very feeling of emptiness that tests the strength of your inner foundation. This is the root chakra being activated, the place where you begin to question, if I no longer have that person, that job, that role, then who am I? And the answer, though not yet clear, is slowly beginning to reshape the core belief system within you. It's no longer about what I live for, but gradually becoming where I live from and for what purpose. When Saturn and Uranus create mirrored aspects to your 6th and 10th houses, even small disruptions in work or health may become triggers for deeper questioning. You might feel overwhelmed, unmotivated, or suddenly doubtful of the path you're on. This is not because you're weak. It's because you're being asked to pause, to realign your goals with the self that is now evolving. At this time, you may also feel a kind of spiritual exhaustion that can't be named. Not just burnout, but a deep sense of no longer finding meaning in what once meant everything. That's a sign your crown chakra is expanding, reaching into deeper layers of emotion and purpose, far beyond what you once thought was enough. And even as you try so hard to keep things under control, there's a part of you that already knows everything is changing, including you. Change doesn't come as a storm. It comes as a quiet, steady rain, slow, deep, and irreversible. Any resistance now will only exhaust you further. But if you pause, touch that emptiness, you'll see it hasn't come to take from you. It has come to return you to yourself. The healing journey you are on is not just about escaping pain. It's about rebuilding a foundation that is stronger, more honest, and rooted in your own truth. No more chasing someone. No more proving anything to the world. All that remains is you, and the most authentic part of yourself that has never been acknowledged. Soon, you'll be asked to trust in each small step, even when you can't see the full picture. The next part will reveal just that. When the universe begins to hint at a bold leap, and you find yourself standing at the threshold of a brand new chapter. Not one where you fix the old, but where you create something that has never existed before. After the old foundation has been dismantled, after you've touched that feeling of emptiness and disorientation, this is when the process of rebirth begins. Not through a loud explosion, not through a dramatic event, but through a soft whisper from within. I can't keep living like this anymore. That's the mark of Pluto in full activation within your sign, forcing you to shed not just your outer world, but the very way you define yourself. You begin to see more clearly what is fake, what feels forced, and what is truly worth keeping. This process isn't comfortable, but it's absolutely necessary. You're not returning to who you were. You're becoming someone you've never fully allowed yourself to be before. The movement of the North Node, the point of future direction, is beginning to open new signals. It might come as an unexpected conversation, an unplanned invitation, or an idea that feels vague yet makes your heart race. This is how the universe whispers. This is the way forward, even if you're not ready to name it yet. This is also when ace energy begins to awaken, not in the tarot sense, but through the lens of astrology. The primal energy from the first house, the origin of the self and ego, being renewed. You start taking your first steps on a land you've never walked before. You may still be shaky, still unsure, but step by step you're freeing yourself from the very things that once limited you, whether those are old thoughts, memories, or unkept promises. In this phase, you might feel a subtle lightness at the crown of your head, as if your crown chakra is expanding its reach. This is a sign you've touched a higher state of awareness, where certainty is no longer required to move forward. You just need inner truth. The clarity that what's old is finished and what's new is calling. And in that very moment, people, old dreams, and even parts of yourself may begin to fall away. Don't cling to what no longer wishes to stay. Don't blame yourself for changing. You're not abandoning anyone. You're simply choosing not to abandon yourself anymore. This journey, astrologically speaking, is a kind of personal life reset, as if you're stepping into a completely new cycle, where you're the one actively creating your world, no longer shaped by the past, by others, or by outside expectations. This is the energy of the Fool archetype in astrology, not knowing what lies ahead but ready to walk into it. From here, a new chapter begins, and when you look back, you'll see it wasn't luck. You let go, you accepted the truth, and you were brave enough to recreate yourself from the ruins. The next part will no longer be a one-way journey, because the universe is also watching the energy exchange between you and the other person. Now comes the question, will they still walk beside you or be left behind? As you slowly find your footing on this new path, a quiet question may echo within you. But what about them? The one who touched your heart so deeply, the one you once thought would walk beside you until the end, the one who now seems to be standing somewhere far, far away. The truth is, astrological cycles don't just affect you, they're also stirring transformation within that person. Whether you're aware of it or not, whether they admit it or not, part of their soul is trembling too. Your seventh house, the house of partnership, the mirror of the other, is currently being activated by slow-moving planets and karmic nodes. This means both of you are undergoing transformation, just not at the same pace. They may be hiding their emotions or trying to cling to stability through another relationship, an old job, or a familiar social role. But beneath that facade, the cracks are beginning to show. Signs of Pluto or Saturn clashing with Venus or the Moon in their birth chart reflect a dragging, conflicted energy, a sense of being trapped in their own choices. If they once avoided confrontation, they're now being pushed to a crossroads, a place where silence is no longer an option. If they once hesitated between you and someone else, or between you and an old way of life, this current phase demands a decision. And the irony is, you're no longer waiting. You've moved farther than they ever imagined. And then there are cases where that person suddenly comes back, not because they're ready, but because they feel the loss. They might message you, reminisce, or send ambiguous signals. But astrology doesn't speak the language of mixed feelings. It reflects truth. And the truth is, if they haven't healed themselves, their return might not be what you need. Your third ninth house axis is also beginning to widen, meaning part of you is reaching for truth, for higher perspective. And if the other remains stuck in repeating loops, then the two of you are traveling parallel tracks that no longer intersect. Still, the lesson doesn't lie in whether they change or not. The real question is, will you stay your course even if the one you loved doesn't walk beside you? Will you refuse to shrink, to wait, to step back, just because it feels familiar? Because at a deeper level, this is the universe testing you, not your loyalty to someone else, but your commitment to your true self. to see if you can trust your own footsteps, even when you walk alone. On the other side, they too are facing a karmic reckoning, a space where they must confront the reality of losing something precious. Whether they heal, grow, or rise from it is no longer yours to carry. From this moment forward, you are no longer orbiting someone else's energy. You are the center of your own. We now arrive at the final part, where the universe poses its biggest question. After all that you've released, touched, and transcended, are you truly ready to step into a brand new chapter, no longer rooted in the past, but fully facing forward? In the moment that seems the most silent, your soul begins to awaken in the clearest way, not through reason, not through evidence, but through a deeply rooted feeling. You know you are no longer who you used to be. This is when the world archetype, the symbol of a completed cycle, begins to appear. In astrology, when slow-moving planets complete their transits and close major aspects to your destiny axis, you enter the post-karmic period. You are no longer being pulled back, no longer required to repeat old lessons. And most importantly, you no longer live for the past. This energetic state does not speak to the mind. It flows from a fully open crown chakra, guiding you into a new light where you realize that every past upheaval held meaning. You've passed the ultimate test, learning to love yourself more than attachment, learning to walk away without resentment, learning to exist without needing anyone's permission. And in that very moment, the universe responds with subtle yet undeniable signs. A message from someone unexpected, a job opportunity you once didn't dare dream of, a new connection, grounded, whole, and incapable of pulling you into old loops again. From an astrological lens, your 11th and 12th houses begin to softly activate vocabularies that are entering a phase of realigning your soul's mission and expanding connections with new communities, new values, new paths. But this time, you're no longer walking as someone wounded. You're walking as someone who has reclaimed their place at the center of their own being. Then something remarkable happens. You no longer feel angry at anyone, nor do you need them to understand you. Because when you are truly healed, you don't need applause, you don't need agreement, you only need peace in your heart and freedom in every choice you make. This is when Jupiter or Neptune forms a trine to your rising sign or chart ruler. It doesn't come with drama, it arrives as a gentle, graceful expansion. Just enough for you to sense, I am being supported, quietly but powerfully. The universe wants you to know, every loss you've ever endured was part of an equal exchange. You didn't lose the one you loved, you were returned to yourself. You didn't miss out on opportunity, you were reshaped to receive something better aligned. And now, you're standing at the threshold not of a new chapter, but of an entirely different book. Spirit whispers, you've learned, now it's time to live differently. And finally, dear Aquarius, you're no longer in a time of waiting for someone, no longer living in the conditions of if only or what if. You are in a new space where you get to choose yourself every day, gently but firmly. And if your heart still carries the question, am I worthy of starting over? The answer is yes. Not because you are perfect, but because you have been completely honest with yourself. This journey ends here and also just begins. Because from this moment on, you are no longer the one waiting for fate. You are the one rewriting fate, and the universe nods in confirmation. At last, you've returned to your soul's true frequency. If this message resonates with you, leave a comment. I'm ready to return to my true self. Subscribe to the channel so you won't miss the next chapters made just for Aquarius, where it's not just about predictions, but about soul-level revelation. Which chapter of your journey are you in right now?